A lot can happen in a week. Some of it good, some of it bad, some of it downright ugly. When faced with intriguing developments in the week's news, we turn to a rotating panel of non-experts to parse the good, the bad, and the ugly of it all. On today's panel, Charles Kuffner, who writes the off-the-cuff political blog, Lisa Falkenberg, senior columnist with the Houston Chronicle, and Marco Roberts, chairman of the Texas Conservative Liberty Forum. Charles, Lisa, Marco, welcome to Houston Matters.
Thanks, Greg.
Good morning. Panel, U.S. Defense Secretary, or if you prefer Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, is facing some ridicule for quoting a fake Bible verse from the movie Pulp Fiction while leading a prayer service at the Pentagon Wednesday. Hegseth delivered a variation on the Quentin Tarantino penned and Samuel L. Jackson performed, but not actually biblical Ezekiel 25:17 monologue from the 1994 movie Pulp Fiction. In the film, Jackson's hitman Jules delivers the speech to his victims right before murdering them, at least until, spoiler alert, he has an awakening and interprets the words differently. Hegseth set up the quote by saying it was a prayer recited by one of the Air Force combat search and rescue teams that rescued an airman trapped in Iran earlier this month. Unfortunately for Hegseth, the path of the misquoting secretary is beset on all sides by the tyranny of internet trolls who gave him an earful over it. Pete Hegseth may have thought he was quoting the Bible, maybe not. He was actually quoting Pulp Fiction. Is this good, bad, or ugly? Charles Kuffner.
I mean, it's hilarious, and it's also kind of amazing that he managed to find, a section of dialogue from Pulp Fiction that didn't include, the F word, which I think might have been a clue if it had been in there that this was not, in fact, something said by Jesus or one of the prophets. I don't know. I mean, it's of a piece with these self-proclaimed Christians, and I use that word loosely, who, first of all, there's people like House Speaker Mike Johnson who didn't seem to recognize that when Pope Leo talked about God not hearing the prayers of those who make war, I don't have the wording exactly right. They're claiming that wasn't from the Bible. He's actually quoting Isaiah from chapter 1. It's right there. I would have thought they might have been more familiar with that. But we have, it seems, a lot of these so-called Christians who, to my mind, as someone who attended Catholic school for 6 years, they don't seem to understand what Jesus was all about. They are what I would say extremely not Christ-like, and this is as good an example of that as you'll find.
Okay, good, bad, or ugly. Lisa Falkenberg.
I think this is good, great, because we often have this conversation about how, whether it's the New Testament or the Old Testament in this case, but we all often have this conversation about how they don't really know what's in the Bible. They're not representing, certainly, Christ's teachings, but now we have proof. Like these people, some of them call themselves the whole Bible, Christians, meaning they don't just follow Christ. They go back and, find things that they need out of the Old Testament as well that suit their purposes, particularly in war making and more violent endeavors and hateful endeavors. But in this case, we know they're not whole Bible. They're extra Bible. They're like adding things to it. Like, whatever suits the purpose, we're going to say this is Christian, this is okay, and it's sanctioned, even though they've swayed so far from the doctrine. I mean, this is a man whose pastor has said, that wished death basically upon James Tallarico, calling him some kind of demon and, a man who's here to bewitch us all, I guess, and working against God, so it's okay to want him to die. So at what point do actual Christians, people of any faith that's constructive and loving and healthy, at what point do people of faith say, this is enough, this is blasphemy? I mean, the president too, on Easter morning,
found out,
saying he's going to end a civilization and kill a bunch of people.
Or, I was thinking of the AI image of him as Jesus healing the sick.
That as well. Now, he's a doctor, Charles. He was a doctor.
My doctors look exactly like that.
They have light coming out of their hands. But anyway, I think it's good when people show themselves.
Okay, good, bad, or ugly. Marco
Well,
Roberts.
I think it's a nothing burger, and I think actually it's good for Pete Hegseth that this is the worst they can come up with. He was very clear. He was not quoting the Bible. He said that from the beginning. This was a prayer that was handed to him by the members of the unit. So and he even at one point, as he introducing it, says, I think this is supposed to reflect Ezekiel, which it kind of does. I mean, if he had said was inspired by, perhaps that's true. It's not the exact Pulp Fiction, but clearly the members of that unit took it from Pulp Fiction. Whether Hegseth knew that or not, I don't know. But, this history of people, I might have not liked the prayer itself, but I do think he was motivated by the fact that it was the team that had that prayer, so he's doing it for them. So I think it's nothing, but it's true. I mean, what Lisa and Charles are saying is that we are living in an environment of people being kind of loose. I mean, we had Obama's own. Remember he was getting a lot of trouble during his election because of the preacher that was saying that America deserved 9/11, and Obama had been attending that church. We all have these issues. I think that Lisa's right about Hegseth's own pastor. Those are all concerns that we have. We have that attorney general from Virginia just got elected who basically wished that his opponent's children be killed. And when he was asked, "Are you really mean that?" he says, "Absolutely. They're little Nazis. They're future Nazis. So we got to get rid of them." So we live in an environment. But in the term of crazy, certainly Trump's meme upset a lot of folks. I know he tried to say it was a doctor, looked like Jesus to me. It was not very sellable. But then we have Marjorie Taylor Greene saying that, Jews have space lasers, burning fires in California. Talarico himself saying that we have 6 biological genders, although he hasn't told us what the other 4 are. People saying all kinds of crazy things. So I think in the scheme of things, Pete Hegseth is in pretty good shape. If this is the worst that they come up with, I think it's nothing.
Do you all think that members of this unit, that they did this to have some lighthearted fun with Hegseth? Do you think they figured or assumed that he would recognize it from Pulp Fiction? Do you have any sense of any of that?
If they were in fact trying to troll him, I applaud them. I don't know that I think that that's the case. But if they were, well done.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think that, you read the poem itself, it's a fighting prayer. It's kind of, it's, it would be easy to say this was not the prayer we used. Somebody could say, well, no, we never did that. I think that people, if you talk to a lot of folks who feel
take them
that
at their
way.
word.
Yeah.
They intentionally meant it, and the fact that it is lifted, at least in part, from Pulp Fiction is just beside the point.
Yeah,
that's
because
where they got
it's a
it from.
fighting military style prayer of where encouraging yourself in the middle of battle.
Yeah,
So.
I think, churches are all different. I think I've said I went to, really big church here, evangelical church that quoted Bill O'Reilly more than Jesus Christ, and I was very troubled by that. So in some people's churches, it might be okay to bring it, even, if you knew he wasn't quoting the Bible directly. But I think what brings it over the line for me is he is in a church service. Like, he is speaking in a sacred service. People are praying. They're bowing their heads to words that are
and some of them
they may
clearly
think are from
knew.
Ezekiel.
I mean, you could see from the reactions, some of them, whether those were members of the unit or somebody else, they clearly knew, wait a minute, something's not quite right.
Well,
here.
I think that, what happens here, and I think Hegseth and a lot of folks on both sides of the aisle should learn this, is that the reason why Hegseth is getting trouble over this is because of the bravado and the tone and the temperament that people have seen in the past. And I think whether you're Democrat or Republican, if you carry yourself in a bombastic, blustery way, then even little things you say get blown out because people think that feeds part of that persona. If you were a person who normally conducted themselves with some decorum and some modesty and some humbleness, then people would just look past those things and say that doesn't mean anything.
Decorum, humbleness, and modesty are not words that people use around Pete Hegseth. That is for sure.
Panel, the sneaker company Allbirds caught the attention of the business world this week by announcing it's pivoting from making shoes to developing AI infrastructure. The San Francisco-based firm says it struck a $50 million deal to become an AI compute infrastructure business called New Bird AI. It sounds like a wild shift, but there's at least some method to the madness here. Allbirds trainers have long been popular with tech workers in Silicon Valley, so the folks behind a lot of AI work may be more familiar with the brand. And since its stock had been dropping all year, a change of some kind was certainly in order. This big change led to an even bigger reaction on Wall Street as Allbirds shares increased to near 6 times their value on the heels of the announcement. One day you're making shoes, the next you're developing infrastructure for AI. It is a gig economy after all. Is this good, bad, or ugly, Lisa?
Good, I guess. I don't know. AI is walking all over us in so many ways. I think that I had never heard of Allbirds until several years ago. Somebody recommended that they were really easy travel shoes. And so I bought a pair, and I have to say, they're the ugliest shoes on the planet. I mean, they're terrible.
Right?
They're just they're very plain, but they're very, they really pack super well, and they're light. So if you're a person who's traveling a lot, I guess these tech bros, they travel a lot. So I guess it's really helpful for them. But anyway, I don't know. Maybe their AI platforms could have more aesthetic quality than their shoes, more style. I don't know if I would trust these people with designing anything else, but it's good for them. Stay afloat any way you can, I guess.
With an endorsement like that, I think I understand why their sales were waning. Good, bad, or ugly, Marco?
I think it's probably good. I mean, I don't, we'll see how it turns out for the company, but I think maybe what Lisa's suggesting is that it's gonna maybe their aesthetic, expertise will apply to the new platforms and make them nicer looking. They are kind of plain. It's amazing to me. It's kind of strange, but then when you think back at the past, this is not the first time that a company has completely gone through a whole different. I think most famously was the mining company of the Minnesota Mining Company becoming the 3M Post-it Notes company. And that's all by an accident when they were not being successful with their operation, and somebody accidentally discovered this semi-non-sticking glue that you could, and then they completely said, we're dumping the mining thing, we're doing Post-it notes, and it became a huge success, right? Fujifilm is doing skincare products because no one's buying film anymore. And that was a smart thing to do, right? Because they realized we're seeing the future and it's not film. And so we need to come up with something else. And they've been successful at it. Kodak famously, and this kind of is a warning to everybody that you can't stop the future. You can't stop progress. Kodak famously did not pursue other options because they wanted to preserve, and they were hoping to preserve their film industry. And they didn't even create digital alternatives that they could have done, like Fuji did, because they were afraid that they were going to eat into their own business, but they failed to anticipate, yes, but the world is going to move on. You can't stop it. So I think it's a good sign of our healthy entrepreneurial spirit.
You remind me also, American Telephone and Telegraph. That doesn't really spend a lot of time and money on the telegraph these days.
Not anymore.
Good, bad, or ugly, Charles?
I just want to say I miss the telegraph. Look, you couldn't come up with a better example to convince me that a lot of AI hype is just that and nothing behind it than this. I mean, what does it even mean that what did you say, that they're going to be? It sounds sort of like they're going to be a data center, maybe, sort of. I don't know.
AI compute infrastructure.
That's compute is what they do at data centers. I mean, that's what they do. But I mean, you can't just take any old piece of hardware and turn it into the kind of compute hardware that AI requires by by sprinkling pixie dust on it.
Oh, Charles, just do it.
I mean, you could. I don't think it would work very well.
You can turn shoes into mouse cozies.
I'll take your word for it on that. I guess what I'm saying is this is nothing, but it's nothing that managed to move the stock market and raise their stock price by 6 times. So now, like I said, that to me is what the AI hype is all about, and I kind of don't think that's very good.
Okay, panel, remember Herbie the Love Bug, the beloved cantankerous car that brought Dean Jones and Michelle Lee together in the Disney classic? Oh, quality cinema. Well, that's not the sort of love bug that seems to be on the minds of a lot of Houstonians this week, or on their walls or car windshields, really all over. Yes, love bugs, or I may pronounce this wrong, Plecia nearctica, something like that, surge in population around this time of year and are showing up places Houstonians would rather not find them. As KPRC's Ninfa Saavedra reported this week, it's a short-term phenomenon. The bugs only live for 3 to 5 days, though they do a lot of hard living while they're here, mating left and right. That's why the population of the bugs surges and then wanes within a couple of weeks. Love bugs are here, and they are decidedly less adorable than the VW Beetle that palled around with a surprisingly G-rated Buddy Hackett. Is this good, bad, or ugly? Marco?
Oh, actually, I think it's good. I will tell you. Now, as a kid, I do remember when I first came to Texas, my dad was introducing me to these bugs, although he didn't call them love bugs. He had a different word for love. But so I never confused it with the movie. But yes.
Not G-rated.
No.
Yeah, I can't say it. But
Who would have thought that Buddy Hackett could have avoided that in the movie, and Marco is just like right on the edge here on public radio?
So are we sure that isn't a Pulp Fiction callback?
And what was your response, Marco?
I was
Daddy, there's an orgy on the windshield.
Yeah. So, but I do remember the windshields being covered. I remember all of that. And to be honest with you, I haven't seen that this year myself, and which is interesting. But I think it's good because what I'm happy about is when I'm not being eaten by mosquitoes. I don't like that, right? And so, or flies getting in your food. But those love bugs, they're there for a few days. They really didn't bother me that much even back then. But now I haven't seen them at all. But I did read that they're beneficial to the environment, because apparently, since they're larvae most of the time, that's what they basically digest the food and help break up the soil and make it better. So to me, if it's a good thing for the environment, and maybe we should be concerned that we haven't seen them, and I actually was surprised that we haven't come up with a Love Bug Festival for Houston.
There you go. Interesting.
Somebody could get
always promoting, always thinking. Good, bad, or ugly, Charles.
I too have not seen any love bugs so far this year. I do recall, though, wasn't Don Knotts in those movies too? I mean, he was in a lot of Disney projects.
I think you're thinking of the Ample Dumpling Gang. I mean, maybe he was in one of the sequels.
That wouldn't have
of the
stopped him
Love
from
Bug,
also being in the Love Bug movies. I'm going to have to hit up IMDb after this.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, haven't seen any, so they're not bothering me. So it's good.
I don't remember. There was Herbie Rides Again, Herbie Goes Bananas. I don't remember what the others were.
Herbie Goes to College. Who knows?
Something like that.
There was not Herbie Procreates. So
that would have been on the Love Bug After Dark.
Oh, boy. Good, bad, or ugly, Lisa Falkenberg.
Oh, good. The world needs more love. We have too much of the other stuff. No, I guess we live in a part of town. I don't know if I know you and I generally live around the same, but I don't know if Marco does. But anyway, supposedly, I haven't seen them either. I remember covering East Texas years ago, and literally, like some of these descriptions that I've been reading online, you couldn't see out of your windshield. You'd clear your windshield, then constantly, they'd be coming to, flocking onto it, and then you'd have to, figure out a way to get down the road. But I don't know. It seems that they're drawn to lighter colors, are drawn to the emissions. The smell of your car, because it's like decaying matter. It mimics the smell of decaying matter, I've read. So I don't know if there's some reason they're staying away from our neighborhood, but whatever. It's a spring. It's spring. It's a rite of passage. It's love and not war. Pete Hegseth. We need more love.
And we have an environment all around us doing all sorts of interesting things, some of which we love, some of which we could do without. It's all good. Charles Kuffner writes the off-the-cuff political blog. Lisa Falkenberg is a senior columnist with the Houston Chronicle. Marco Roberts is chairman of the Texas Conservative Liberty Forum. Charles, Lisa, Marco, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.